And we start. Okay. We are starting to record. So, this is my. Maybe I'll just go through the presentation. This is the Fire Emblem Awakening Rant, and there will be a little bit of interactivity in this, and we shall see. So, for context, as I told like 3 other people in call before this, I've played a lot of Fire Emblem games, but I haven't played a lot of them at what I would consider an appropriate difficulty. And I also haven't played a lot of them recently. So my goal is to progressively play through all the games I feel like I didn't give a fair shot, and probably also the ones on this list in due time that I haven't played within the past year, just so I can evaluate them. Um, and we'll just go forward. So why? Let's go through. What are all the games I played to completion? Right. FE5 is Thracia. Normal here is with an asterisk because Thracia only has 2 difficulties. It's normal and Paragon's just the base difficulty, but with double the experience. So this is the hardest difficulty of Thracia. FE7, but only on Lin normal mode. FE8 on the hardest mode, Sacred Stones. FE9, specifically the US release of Path of Radiance on its hardest difficulty, which is not the hardest difficulty of Path of Radiance because there's Maniac mode on JP. I never finished Radiant Dawn. FE11, which is Shadow Dragon, I beat on the easiest difficulty. I don't believe I've ever played it on anything higher. FE13, 12 is New Mystery. I haven't played that as of making this presentation. Awakening, the highest difficulty I full cleared on is Lunatic. I had a Lunatic plus run going. I grinded like crazy, and then I overwrote the save. And then in at least individual playthroughs, I cleared Birthright and I cleared Conquest on hard, but not on Lunatic fully. Not on Lunatic without a certain stipulation, and FE15. That should be bolded, I think. And then 3 houses. All of the bolded ones are the ones that I've beaten with no to minimal grinding. So think like FE7 I Arena abused, FE13 I DLC abused, Lunatic I DLC abused in Conquest. Shadows of Valentia, that should be bolded. I've blitzkrieged it twice, which is inherently anti-synergistic with not with training. And 3 houses, I wouldn't say I grinded. It's more so that like every time there was an opportunity to take a combat event in the map, I took it. And if you do that in hard, you outscale things really hard. So it's not really fair. The other thing is that I, updated my 3DS and I pulled all the games there. And that includes all the Japanese games. So there were a lot of games that I just didn't put in the time to get access to that I now have access to, and I want to just play through the ones that it's basically I have them all available, so I want to play through them. Um, okay, just a quick test. Are you still there, Jason?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. I played Awakening on 3 difficulties. I played easy, or sorry, I played hard. In hard, I used Reeking boxes, and when you use Reeking boxes, you outscale everything. I played
Yep.
on Lunatic. That's also where like most of my sandbox related work is. And as soon as you clear chapter 4, I got my Robin to limit break, and then she beat the entire game. I don't think that's a fair way to play the game. Lunatic Plus, I did the same thing, and then I deleted the save, but I also like got her limit break and capped her stats. So what do I remember before getting into this game? Robin beats everything. Early game is
Yep.
hard, especially on hard difficulties, and every other unit in the game doesn't matter. You want to say something? Chip in whenever you want.
Uh,
Like, does this align with what you felt of Awakening?
other characters are not that useless, but
This is like I'll get there. I agree other characters are not that useless, but when you grind your Robin to just beat the entire game, like you
yeah,
just stop
Robin
caring, right?
becomes the only combat unit. Yes, but
Yes. And we'll talk about utility units.
yeah.
Um Now the other thing is I think in order to like evaluate games, you have to have a frame of mind for evaluating. So these are the rules I have. The first is that I'm playing all the games in this series on what I deem to be the most appropriate difficulty level for said game. And for Awakening, I think it's Lunatic. Hard is way too easy, Lunatic Plus is way too stupid. Um Let me check OBS. Okay. The next part is I am not taking any overworld encounters generated at all. That means if you clear a map, if time passes and enemies start spawning in locations, I do not fight them. It means I never use a single Reeking box or buy one. That's about it. Um, Next up is random items and Ana shops. I think I have Ana shops there. Yeah. They're fair game, and there are probably only 2 instances that mattered. Just because it's in the game, you will run into them, and I think it's fine. Uh, that and also like in theory, I could have used spot pass weapons, which I think I didn't put here. which give you some subset of these anyway, and I just didn't use those. No DLC, period. I did not touch Spot Pass. I did not touch Dragon's Gate. Uh, yeah, that's 4 and 5. Next up, how do I force myself to play the game, to interact with it? And the next, it's primarily the 6 point. I am a completionist, and my definition of completion for this run of Awakening is that every map that I get access to, I must recruit every character and achieve every side objective. And I put that stipulation because you'll see later why, but there are a lot of child paralogs I just didn't get access to. And I thought it would just be a bit unfun for me to optimally get access to them. I'll get there. Um, the other thing is that if there is any side objective, if there's a village, if there's a chest, if there's an enemy running away with a weapon, if there's any droppable item, I must get all of them. And I do that because it's probably pretty easy in some games to just ignore those. And when you ignore those, the amount of objectives you have to achieve in your tactics game becomes a lot less, so it becomes a lot easier. So I deem this part of the challenge of the game, right? Do something more that is being asked of you to be done in a limited amount of time. And the other thing is like I play with guides generally. I don't overdo it. So what I usually do with guides is I look at the immediate chapter and I don't project forward too much. So just if there's like a particularly bad thing in the organization of a chapter, some like obtuse recruitment requirement, so on, I'll look at a guide for the chapter. And this mattered. It definitely mattered. We'll get to where it mattered. Any comments,
What?
Jason?
When did it matter? The only recruits should be doing is
It's not
based
about. It's
off the
about the map. It is
crawl.
about the map. We will get there. It is, I think, chapter
Okay,
5. It
chapter 5 mattered.
did. No, no, no. When I say chapter 5, I mean chapter 5 of my presentation, not chapter 5. Period.
Oh, okay.
Like
Uh,
arc 5 of this run. Or arc 4.
um, I value Anna way more than you, probably because she defines the 80% speed run, but
Which Anna?
merchant shop.
Merchant shop. Like, is in.
You
So
need
when you say you
you,
value it more, what do you mean?
and you need a second seal before chapter 6, or else the run is dead.
Okay, I think I got. I think I got. I had an early master seal I
Huh.
could have gotten access to because the first natural master seals in chapter
It's a
8.
sec. You need a second seal.
Yeah, I know. I didn't use the second seal at that point. I think like I got weapons. They mostly didn't matter. I got stat
Yeah, yeah,
boosters.
no,
Those mostly didn't matter. Um, I tried specifically for master and second seals to not use them before I would naturally get first touch on them.
fair enough. Yeah, I come from speedrunning this game, so
Yeah, but like speedrunning, okay, this is an aside. I find the 3DS game speedrunning is a little boring because you skip enemy phase, and when you skip enemy
yeah.
phase, there's just a lot you don't see. It becomes an optimization problem for how little work can you do in player phase to clear the
Uh,
run, which is
uh,
different.
not really an opt. I think it's more an RNG problem, but
Yeah, for games that are different than Awakening, it's probably different, like Shadow Dragon. Anyway,
yeah,
okay, that's the main
move
thing.
on.
All right, let's talk about the early game, Act One.
Ooh, there we go.
And let's talk about how I'm going to organize this discussion. I think all of the first 6 maps, that is prologue through I believe chapter 4 and the Donal paralogue, all warrant discussion because they're all really hard. And I'll explain vaguely why the map is hard, maybe what I did during the map, and once I'm done with that for all the maps I care to discuss, I'll talk about what I do and don't like.
Fair enough.
So let's talk about
Yeah,
prologue.
I don't agree with
I
that.
screenshotted these pictures instead of saving them. They look kind of shit, but whatever. Um, it's really only the start that's hard. It's 5 enemies. I forgot about the mage in the corner, but the main thing is that like the enemies have a lot of attack and combo for kills on you very easily. The Myrmidons here just double Crom and Robin and kill both of them from full.
Yep.
I had a speed boon Robin, so I think she actually didn't get doubled. I did speed boon Luckbane for context.
Yeah.
And basically, if any 2 enemies attack you at all, you die.
Oh,
Frederick has a little bit more resilience. I believe the strat here is just Crom Robin, like combo for kill on the Myrmidon.
yep.
Lissa pair with Frederick, and then you like stand on top of Crom or to the side of Crom to tank the left brigand. There's like some
Yep.
range where you can stand where the mercenary can only hit like one character. and the brigand can only hit one character. There's like an opener, and then once you're done with that, you have to figure out. I use ocean strats or like lake stats. So you walk over here, you kite the mage. You can't see. I don't know if you can see my mouse, but you walk to the left, you kite the
Yeah,
mage, and then you like
I
run
see it.
around.
Yeah, I know the ocean strats too.
Yeah,
So
these are obvious, right?
yeah.
Chapter one is just a big open map where there are two shitters in
Oh,
the corner, and every enemy on the map is aggressive on turn one.
yep. I haven't run side to this map before. Yep.
Yes, this map is a bit hard. The forts are nice, and if you put Frederick with the bronze sword on this fort, the bottom fort, he's pretty good at taking most of the enemies. The only one that poses a threat is one of the hammer guys in the bottom left. It's also a bit annoying that the boss has a short axe, so he can hit your characters. And the other thing
No.
here is like, if you have like a little bit of levels on Crom and Frederick or Crom and Robin, they'll probably not die to one enemy, but they'll still die to two, and Varian and Sully both die from full to two enemies or to one enemy,
Yep.
basically no matter what. So you're left in this map with like two recruited characters who just like can't live, and that's
Yep.
definitely not just a this map problem because of Chapter Two, which is just
Yep.
insanely notorious. But just to document, because this map warrants discussion. This is, in my opinion, the most polarizing map in the game. You will either love it or hate it, depending on how much you like Awakening and the specific questions it asks for you as a player. I despise this map because I think it's really boring. And it has one gimmick, which is that everything runs at you.
Yep.
The two enemies above the bridge and every single enemy lower than them on the map runs at you in a straight line. And you have to figure out how you can organize your character so they don't die. And the issue is there are only four spaces that are untargetable on turn one if you kill the left mercenary, and it takes a really really long time to find an opener because only a handful of your characters can survive anything on this map. And even once you clear the entire bottom half somehow, it's not trivial to clear the top half. There's a lake you could try to use for positioning lake strats. The issue is that all the enemies become aggressive again. It's really hard to hold the bridge with two characters because other than Frederick everyone dies, and the boss is really strong and has a short axe again. So this
Yeah.
map, I will elaborate more on this later because I have a
Don't
lot
worry.
to say about this
This
map.
map is also boring in the speedrun. Don't worry.
Yeah, but the speedrun's easy mode, right? If it's easy mode, you just run in a straight line.
You run Robin Crom in a straight line and kill the straggler with Frederick.
Yep, that's fine. But I'm talking from the perspective of like, don't care about turn count too much, just clear and lunatic.
Yeah, yeah.
This is my favorite map in the game, and I'll elaborate a bit more on why it's my favorite map. Also, you might notice that it says Armadura Flotante, which is because the website I use here, which is Fire Emblem WOD, is a Spanish-based website translated to English. Um, this map is really only hard for the first half because the second half gives you two one-tile choke points to use to abuse
Yep.
all the enemies. But in the first half, all of the enemies on the bottom half of the map, so the four on the left and the five on the right, are all aggressive. And you want to go left first because Kellam's there, and if you don't get him, he dies. And what you have to do is you have to recruit Kellam and then rush down the left side of the map. And while you're rushing them down, it will take you 1 to 2 turns to kill all the enemies. You will get chipped, and the enemies on the right will rush you. And you have to simultaneously kill the enemies on the left and position yourself to turn around and fight the enemies on the right. There's serious time pressure here. I think is a greatly designed map for the first half, and then it gets really boring. And I'll again elaborate a bit more on this later.
I
Donald's
normally
Paralog
wouldn't
is
even
a
interject. Oh,
yeah.
sorry. I normally wouldn't even interject. This is the only fun early game Lunatic Plus map.
I agree.
Yeah.
From playing Lunatic Plus, this is I think the only bearable Lunatic Plus map. This one's optional. This one is like not even on the critical path, and the levels don't matter too much. The thing is, like, the opener is really hard because if you know the two guys that I have circled there have short axes, and then the two in the front have steel axes, and then the brigand on top has a steel axe, and the thief has a steel sword and can
They
double
love
your
throwing
entire
short
army.
axes in this game.
Huh?
Yep. I don't know why they love throwing short axes early.
Yeah, I mean they're gonna transition to silver axes at some point soon. The thing is,
Yeah.
like, the opener is 6 or 7 really aggressive enemies, but once you get past the opener, it's not too bad because the groups of enemies that actually aggro at the same time are fairly disjoint. And there's one piece of time pressure in this map, which is that I don't think I have it circled, but the thief at the bottom, the guy labeled A on this map, runs up through the forest, opens the door, and I goes to chest one, which I believe is a killer lance. Um, and in this game, when a thief opens a chest and you kill the thief, you get the item from the chest, which is not the case in some other games, like Thracia. Um, this is the time pressure of this map. It's not Donald leveling. You can do that anytime if you trap an archer. It's
Editor, add one to the Thracia reference counter.
yeah. I have references to other games that do things that I like in this game better, and Thracia's surprisingly not on that list. So we'll get to that part. That's in the conclusion. It's gonna be a while. Um, so this is part of what I mean by map design that encourages fast gameplay. It's basically, can you get past the opener and get to the thief in time? The thing is, it's not that hard to get to the thief, because once you get past the opener, basically half the enemies are brigands with low hit rate on a bronze sword Frederick, and the other ones are archers who you can actually combo for kills on. So you can basically just like ignore a lot of the enemies and move Frederick like through basically the fort where this like circled brigand is standing, and then left and then up, and you just let the thief open the chest and then you cut the thief off. Another thing to note: the two brigands, the guy labeled B and the guy to his right, I believe have hand axes, but even if you stand one tile in their range, they don't attack you. Um, this map is not that bad. The levels are nice. The killer lance is really nice. Um, Now let's talk about chapter 4. I like this map a little. It's the point is that you have two fronts of attack, and it's particularly the manner in which the enemies act that is nice on this map, which is that on turn 1, the bottom 4 enemies are aggressive, and then each successive turn, 2 more enemies become aggressive. And I think it's a just good enough pacing that you have to split your small army into two fronts of attack and deal with the immediate threat with maybe just barely enough time to prepare for the next threat. But at this point, my Robin was good enough to like not get doubled by most enemies and comfortably handled one of the sides. I think in combination with probably Sumia, I think, for the speed pair up. And then Carmen Frederick handled the other. And then I got the range options in Lissa. Never mind, Sumia's not here. But this was fine. And then chapter 5. This map I think is interesting. And it demands a lot of you on turn 1. I think this is probably the second hardest map in a non-grinding playthrough behind chapter 2 on Lunatic. And the point is that you have to save Rickon and Maribel from the top right. And on Lunatic, you really don't have the means to kill the enemies that are approaching them, which is all of all the 3 that are on the second cliff, the Draco Knights that are running down, the Wyverns that are running down, and the 3 on the lip, in front of Robin here. Like if you go straight up. So there's one safe tile here on turn 1, and you have to pair them up to stand on the safe tile. And then on turn 2, you have to use the rescue staff to get them, which you get in a previous map that I don't remember. It's I think chapter 3. But simultaneously with that, you have to defend them from the combination of I'd say 3 fronts. The first front is the straight line above Robin, where there's a 1 tile choke point that a lot of both melee and like mage enemies are attacking through. The second is the left, and the left is not too critical at first. There are 4 enemies, they'll rush you. You can find an opener with some combination of Crom Frederick and like probably Lonq, who's a solid offensive unit for this point, we'll get to. And you can deal with the immediate threat. The thing with this is that the fort on the left on turn 3 spawns a reinforcement. And if you cannot get there before turn 3, you are going to get swept by the reinforcements on the left. So this is another time critical mission. It's not shown that way because it's not like there's a reward attached to it. It's just you have to choose based on your army whether you think you can consolidate your forces and defend them with just 1 point and then somehow deal with the enemy spawning from the left, or if you think you can rush the left but split your forces, which I think is a pretty interesting question. And the third front I mentioned before are the Wyverns. The Wyverns run at you and they ignore your choke points. So there's another side to this, which is, can you figure out how to kite the Wyverns such that you can hit them on player phase? Which you can do. If the Wyverns, I believe, move straight down for 2 turns, particularly the ones on the left, they'll end up on this cliff, the cliff on the left, and that's in range of Varian and mages hitting them. So, and I think you would use the tile below to hit with a melee character. So there are ways to force the Wyverns into convenient locations. This map took a really long time for me, but it's genuinely pretty good, in my opinion. And I have nothing more to say. I think chapter 8 is probably where I'd cut off the early game because that's where you get a master seal. But I don't have anything interesting to say about chapter 6 or 7 or 8 because my Robin scaled so hard that she could start taking entire fronts by herself with almost no support, and almost nothing else changed. Any points up to now?
Yep.
Anything you want to comment on?
Yeah, this is about the point where Robin just starts soloing the game too.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about the stipulation. What did I enjoy? There is something that Awakening does right in the early game sometimes. And it's a formula that's 3 parts, I believe. The first is that you have a semi-open map. Not one where every enemy can approach you from every angle, but one where there's like a defined subset of fronts, where there are enemies that you have to divert your attention for, and you can use terrain and you can use like your breadth of characters to figure out how to play around those fronts. You can't just send one carry in and win. Next is that enemies have overlapping AI. So there's large groups of entirely aggressive enemies coming at you at once. You have a huge immediate problem to deal with on multiple fronts. And the third one is that there's something forcing you to act fast. So, for example, the Donald Paralog has the thief, right? You could try to like shove like turtle and deal with the initial confrontation, but I think if you turtle too aggressively in that chapter, you can't get the side objective, which is not allowed according to my rule set. This is interesting, and there are a couple maps. I think specifically, Chapter 3, which I've said is actually a pretty fun map. Chapter 4, which is an open map, but an open map where the enemies are spread out enough that you should deal with them in appropriate phases, in appropriate timings. And Chapter 5, where I already went on my full rant about the 3 tile choke points. And the combination of things you have to do in extremely quick succession on Chapter 5 is really interesting. Figuring out how to organize your characters to save Rickon and Maribel, how to stop the flyers, how to stop the left reinforcements, how to hold up the center point, all that's pretty cool. Now, let's talk about the other side of this. There's a lot of points where Awakening make this way too hard. Chapter 2 has 9 enemies on turn 1 who all run at you when you have no cover.
Yep, I was like, Chapter 2, you have the forests, and that's about it.
You have the mountain as well on the left. That matters.
Yeah, sure.
Chapter 1 makes every single enemy aggressive on turn 1, and you can dodge them, but not that easily, and you have to somehow deal with the characters that are...
I'm thinking about Chapter 1, sorry, but yeah.
Huh? Yeah.
I was thinking about Chapter 1, but yeah.
Prologue gives you 3 combat-ready characters where 2 of them die in 1 hit, die in 2 hits or 1 hit, depending on who's attacking them. And 7, I forgot, 7 is the Cordelia chapter.
Cordelia?
The Cordelia chapter...
8 is Emerald.
Yeah, 8 is Emerald. No, 6 is Emerald. Wait.
So 6 is...
Yeah, 8 is Noe Gregor.
Oh, 8 is Noe, yeah.
And 11 is Gangrel.
Yeah, those maps are open.
So these maps are like completely open. But I haven't talked about them yet, right? We'll get there. This, I think, is not a problem if you're not going for full recruitment. Because if you're willing to let your characters die on open fields and they're not a liability, you can probably do better. You could get through Chapter 2 and probably Chapter 1 and let like Sully die, let Stahl die, let Muriel die. You wouldn't lose too much. The issue is that all of this difficulty is front-loaded in the early game at a point where if you're playing with the stipulation of full recruitment, they're all liabilities. Every single one. And now we're going to get into some math. These are the stats of the enemies in Chapter 2. The barbarians deal 25 damage. The soldiers deal 20 damage, but have 1 more point of speed. Okay. You double if your speed is at least 5 greater than the other person. Don't worry about the attack calculation on this side yet. Let's play a game. Which of these characters can survive the 25 attack from the barbarian? Actually, the thing's on the right matter. So 25 attack into a lance will do 27. 25 attack into a sword will do 24. And 25 attack into an axe or a tome or something else will do 25. How many of these characters could survive the 10 speed barbarian unpaired? Robin's not here. Ignore her for now.
Yeah.
What do you think?
You picked female Robin?
Yes, female Robin, Speed Boon, Luckbane.
Okay.
Would it help if I like split screen and showed you both? Maybe you can write it down. The important thing is it has 10 speed, 25 base attack, weapon triangle advantages plus 2, weapon triangle disadvantages minus 1.
So Frederick. And maybe Vike.
So who are you saying survives?
Frederick.
Frederick survives? Okay. You're saying Vike survives? Okay.
Vike, whatever. Vike has like no defense. Never mind.
Let's
Is it
go
all the
character by
night?
character. Does Crom survive?
Maybe on like one.
Survive is survive. Okay. Does he survive? 25 attack.
25 attack? He should.
He
On
does.
like 2.
Yeah, on 3 because it goes down to
Alyssa's
24.
dead. We can
Weapon
skip.
triangle
Yeah,
disadvantage.
Alyssa's dead. We can skip her.
This is dead. Frederick lives. What about Sully?
Yeah.
Sully lives or dies?
I think she dies because of weapon triangle, right?
Okay. Varian.
Megan's dead.
Okay, Stall.
Does weapon triangle advantage? Minus
Weapon triangle advantage is -1. Weapon triangle disadvantage is +2 on the damage.
Okay, -1. Still lives, it looks like.
Okay, Stall lives. Vague.
Mike lives.
And Muriel.
This is HP +5.
HP +5.
Oh. Yeah.
And Muriel.
That Mary dies.
Okay, let's go through. Crom lives. Crom lives because
Yep.
he has 27 effective defense. Frederick lives. Yep. Sully lives. Sully lives with a little stipulation. We'll get there. Stall lives.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
Vake lives. Let's look at the
Yeah.
stipulations. Sully and Stall have to equip the bronze sword, otherwise they get one shot.
Yeah.
Vake and Stall have 6 speed, which is enough to not get doubled by the barbarian, but not by the soldier.
Yep.
So they die to that.
Yep.
The Merc on the map, I can go back and show you, has 13 speed, which is enough to double every single character on the screen except for Frederick. And they all die. There's only one of them. Robin lives. Okay. Crom, Frederick, Sully, Stall, Vake. Question 2. Which of them gives speed pair up? Just guess.
None of them.
They do. Some of them do.
Okay. It's definitely not speed main stat, but
Any speed. Pair up is tied to the class, not the character.
yeah, I know.
I'll put our calculation later. We're gonna get a bit technical.
Yeah.
You want me to just click through?
Yeah, go ahead.
Crom gives +3.
Okay.
Sully
Yeah,
and Stall both give +1 from Cav.
I was like, probably Cat.
Robin gives +2 from Tactician.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yep.
Notice that 3 of the characters that survive need to be paired up to give you speed. So Frederick, Vake, Robin, right?
Yep.
Vake gives Vake gives strength defense, so it's also a good pair up. So,
yep.
What is your damage like? Bronze-sword Sully does 8 damage. Muriel does 9 damage. Vake with his Iron Axe, which you get on turn 2, does 13. They have 31 to 32 health per enemy for all 9 enemies. Yep. Which means if you use your shitter squad to try to combo for kills, you will 4-hit KO them. Of your 9 characters, it takes 4 of them to kill 1 enemy. I think 5 of them get 1 rounded or 1 shot. And there are 9 enemies aggressive on turn 1.
Yep.
What do you do? Here's one of my really, really big issues with Awakening. And we're going to get to it on this slide. There is not a consistent solution. What you have to do is you have to commit to something that will give you randomness. You have to commit to rushing an enemy and killing them. You have to throw Frederick and your Hypercarry in range of everything. You have to barely survive because there's no way of placing your character such that none of them get hit. Sully did 9 damage. 8 damage to 1 Barbarian, and that's the only thing she did for the entire map. She lived on 3. That's it. Varian did 9 damage with an Iron Bow. Genuinely useful because he didn't get counter hit and die. And Robin just baited enemies. It took me a long time. This is less than Lunatic Plus. In my childhood, Lunatic Plus, it took 200 tries. And one of these tries I got through the first half, but didn't get to the second half. And this is my main point here. If your best way of dealing with a problem that the game presents to you is not finding a close form solution, it's not traversing the puzzle, it's taking your best random shot at an opener and hoping to minimize the risk of death, that's not fun for me. This is my really, really big problem with chapter 2.
Yeah, I can see that.
Okay, let's move on. When all your characters are doing 8 to 9 damage to enemies that have over 30 HP, or 30-ish HP, they all get 1 to 2 tapped, and you only have 2 or 3 viable characters, you can't do things consistently. You can't position, because all your positioning is making sure you barely survive, and you can play to like a 40% out, a 30% out, to have a chance of clearing the map. Now, I watch a lot of Lunatic related content, Lunatic Plus related content, from one particular YouTuber who's like a Lunatic Plus like fan. Good content, honestly. And they say like take a risky opener because you can reset in 5 seconds in the opener. You don't want to reset 30 minutes in when you've put yourself in a bad position. I agree with that. But like, why would I want to take a probabilistic opener in a puzzle game, in a strategy game? That a probability that's not even in my favor. That just doesn't seem fun to me. With an asterisk, there is a way to make these types of low probability events interesting. Part of a gameplay design, and we will get back here in 60 slides. Okay.
Yep.
That's it for this point. And here's my other thing. Every single recruited character past chapter 6 actually has good enough bases to not die to one enemy. And I'm going to give you all of them right now. Cordelia has enough speed to not get doubled, and she actually does damage because she has a steel lance. Noe has 2 range that she could chip, but she actually has low enough speed that she gets doubled by everything. Gregor doesn't get doubled by everything, and he's a steel sword. Libra has so much base HP, and he's pre-promoted, and he comes with a good enough staff that he's useful, and he comes with the killer axe. Tharja has Nosferatu in her base kit.
Yeah.
Olivia's a dancer, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Church joins with a hammer against knights, and it has enough base speed to double them.
Okay.
Henry's shit. Don't even talk about him. He's not usable.
What do you mean?
Every other recruitable character is pre-promoted.
What do you mean? Henry has a skill with adjacency minus 10 avoid or something.
That's just a dark mage skill.
Also, where's Gaius?
Oh, you're right. I forgot about him. But he's the utility character. I'm not counting utility characters. I put Olivia here. You're right. Also, I said past chapter 6. Gaius is in chapter 6. It's also why I didn't talk about Pan, because Pan's also shit. But like, and I didn't talk about Donald either, right? I didn't talk about Donald, not Rickon, not Maribel, because they're all bad. Maribel less so. There's a tier list also, projecting forward. I have to keep like polling OBS to make sure it's still here. Yeah, it's still here. Okay. Oh, children's scale, right? Now, I'm going to have, I think, 10 parts, maybe 11 about general commentary. Here's one of them. Their ambush spawns.
Oh.
I have nothing else to say. They're ambush spawns, and they're not fun. Even when you look up a guide, like sometimes there are just ambush spawns you can't deal with. There are ambush spawns where you can't get to the source fast enough, and they have enough mobility to kill you. Like in chapter 5, there are ambush spawn wyverns that show up in the top half of the map, and you just cannot get to the top half of the map. If you put anyone in range of them, they're just dead.
Yep.
It's just uninteresting to me. Snowballing. Let's talk about snowballing, because I think people know that Awakening is a snowballing game. That's common knowledge. But what I want to talk about here isn't just the viability of snowballing, but the game design. Every single thing I've talked about so far makes it feel like the best way to get through the game is to just kill everything with Robin. And there's a lot of reasons for why. And I'll also stipulate, I know this isn't true. In fact, I don't know how much you pay attention to Awakening discourse. There's a lot of talk about Vake hypercarry on Lunatic Plus. Do you know this?
I did not.
You don't?
And you told me using him in high school was bad.
Well, like I wasn't looking at Lunatic Plus in high school. So genuinely, there's an argument for this. There's like a whole Reddit thread mecha video, and also there's like actual discussion from people involved in Lunatic Plus. The general argument for this one, completely tangent to my point, is that Vake has really good offensive stats and actually does meaningful damage on his first chapter. There's a way to play chapter 2 such that you can feed Vake enough kills that he scales, and he has the best like strength, speed, effective growths in the game. And if you decide you want to feed kills into Vake, means you don't have to feed kills into Robin, which means you could just rely on Frederick more. That's the general argument. It's kind of works. I haven't played it myself. I don't really care to. But I just want to stipulate, like, I know you can turn any character into a carry, but I really want to talk about Robin here specifically. Because Robin has a couple factors that make it particularly bad. The first one, which everyone knows, is that Robin has veteran.
Veteran.
Veteran is just stupid.
I would-
50% more XP gain is really bad. Like, really stupid.
I would say most broken skill if Gale Force wasn't in the game.
But, like, it's broken even without Gale Force, right? I think the thing is, like,
No,
Gale Force...
I said
Like, if Gale Force
I would
wasn't in
say
the
the
game,
most
no.
broken, but-
No, I think Veteran is better than Gale Force.
that's fair.
And here's the
Honestly,
justification, right? Gale Force is a skill you get once you get into Dark Flyer. So you have to
Yeah.
reclass. You have to invest, and you'll get there at some point, right? You get a second seal, you get there chapter 2, like chapter 12, chapter 13, right? But for the first 11 chapters, your Robin is snowballing because she has veteran. It's such insanely good early game utility that just scales.
I think Gale Force is better because of availability, but yeah.
Available. The thing is, veteran's 100% available. Your Robin would not get to the point that Gale Force is
characters.
on characters.
You could have multiple. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. You can have multiple characters with Gale Force, but in a basic Lunatic playthrough without external grinding, without Reeking Box, how do you train those characters to get to Gale Force?
Oh yeah, you're not.
Right? But you can train Robin. You could scale her so quickly in the early game that no one catches up. So I think Veteran's better. And we'll get there. Robin can hit this really valuable checkpoint where she doesn't die to 2 enemies. And if you get there, she's really, really good in chapter 2. Because everyone else dies to 2 enemies, right? And the issue is, once you get a character that fills a role that no one else can, you put them there. And then they get kills, and then they scale. And here's the other thing. She's the only 2-range option who doesn't die.
Yep.
Right? So when you have so many unique factors, meaning you're constantly hitting things, you're constantly being put in dangerous positions because you can live them, and you're constantly getting experience because of it, you snowball. Right?
You want to talk about how magic is broken in this game? Is there a slide for that?
No, because I frankly think it doesn't matter. Magic is not so much more broken as a weapon type than physical damage, than 1-2 range. Like, in my opinion, if a character just scales their stats like my Robin did, it doesn't matter what they use. With one caveat, we'll get there. I think it's bad point 8, or no, it's bad point like 9 or 10. Okay. The other thing is you got a Master Seal in Chapter 8. She'll always be the super high level if you play like this, and she's a great candidate for it. And let's talk about why snowballing is so bad. Here is a fighter from Prologue. And here's a fighter from Chapter 6. You notice anything?
The terrible rest stats?
That's whatever. Shall I circle it?
Go ahead. Oh yeah, speed.
Why in 7 chapters did the black enemy get 1 point of speed? 6. I didn't even count Donald Paralog here. 1 point?
I see what Sid yells as Mike peaks.
Oh, there's a peak? Okay. I didn't know. 1 point of speed. It does get higher from here, right? I checked like chapter 8, it gets to I think like 12, 13. But this is really bad. Because what's going to happen is, here's what my Robin did, right? I had speed boon. I think my growth is a bit higher, but just think 6 base speed. I think boon is +2. But if you just don't put speed bane, and my Robin capped her level in chapter 6, I would have gotten to 16 speed.
Yep.
I would have doubled every single brigand in the game. And like she's leveling magic too, right? She's killing them with thunder, she's killing them with iron sword, right?
Yep.
But there's more than that, right? So once they start scaling speed, once they get a bit faster after chapter 6, they get 1-2 points per chapter, right? So if you level enough to scale your speed, you're always ahead of them. Always. Right? And more than that, I don't have the formula here, but your dodge scale, your avoid scale is so high that nothing hits you. So you scale your HP so when you get hit, it doesn't matter as much. You scale your avoid so you don't get hit. And you scale your speed so you always double things. And your stat caps are so high that you will just outstat everything in the game. Right? But like really importantly, like if these enemies scaled their speed higher, like if the enemy stats scaled in proportion to yours, it would not work nearly as well, right? right? It's that there's this buffer period where the enemies don't get stronger and you do. And more than that you can constantly scale. And again, we'll get there in like 50 slides. There's a way to fix this. The other thing is, you don't need to hit 14 speed, right? You can just hit 10 speed, 11 speed, 9 speed, and you can use that port. Pair up.
Pair up.
Obviously, everyone knows pair up is way too bad, or way too overtuned, right?
Yep.
Let's just talk about it. Mike, Rom, and Robin got their A support, chapter 7 or 8, S support a bit later. And here's what the pair bonuses look like. I don't think I saved the formula. It looks something like this.
Yep.
And for context, if you had B or C support, which would have been a bit earlier, it just makes the middle two 5 instead of 6.
Yep.
So I need 9 speed. 9 speed to double everything in the early game.
Yep.
And the other thing is when you pair up, like sometimes I would just make openers where I can have some combination of dodging and proccing dual guard so I don't die. And when, again, all of this is probabilistic, it's just not interesting to me, right? This isn't like a solution to a strategy game with some closed form solution where you think through some like interesting enemy manipulation behavior, some combination of skills you have, positional game. It's just throw your hyper carry into the masses and hope they proc enough defensive utility to not die. And so long as they do that enough, eventually they're basically guaranteed to do it. I don't find that fun. Now, let's talk about some of the fun I had in the early game. There are 2 particular characters I really want to draw attention to. One of them is Long Q. Long Q is solid. You get him at the beginning of chapter 5. My Crom wasn't really scaling because he was a pair-up bot because Frederick and Robin needed the speed. And I sent my Robin up in chapter 5 and my Frederick left. And Frederick is strong, but not strong enough, especially because chapters 5 and 6 have basically fronts that are like 3 tiles wide, 2 or 3 tiles wide, where Frederick alone can't hold it. You need someone else. And Long Q has high enough bases to actually double enemies. Some brigands. And he has the killing edge, so he can semi-consistently kill enemies at base. And if not, he has a great speed para. So he's just a solid usable character at base who can help you hold choke points against particular types of enemies, which is better than every single character that came before him except Robin, Crom, and Frederick. And Lissa. Right? And when you do that, he scales. He scales a little. And he got to the point that he wasn't nearly as good as my Robin, but he had high speed to the point he could double a bunch of things. He got enough attack that he could use silver swords or killing edges to kill things. And if I needed someone that wasn't Robin, I could use him. And I will need this someone who isn't Robin at some point. It will come up. Anything you want to add here?
No.
Okay. Oh,
I mean,
the other thing is Pen. I haven't checked. I haven't loaded this. Pen support bonuses are actually really good. So I just kept her with Long Q the entire time and got them to S rank.
I see.
What were you gonna say?
We use long. I think the speedrun only uses Long Q for his chapter, but
Yeah, because like you just need someone to attack the other side than Robin because it's a route map, right? Like
yeah,
the speedrun I think is probably quite different than a vanilla lunatic playthrough without grinding.
probably. Yeah.
And now, before I go to the next slide, I'm going to sing the praises of one more early game character. Right after I just got done calling all of them shit. Which one do you think I'm praising?
Ooh. This is before chapter 6?
This is at or before chapter 6.
At or before chapter 6.
And I'll tell you, it's not Crom, it's not Robin, and it's not Lissa, it's not Frederick, and it's not Long Q.
Muriel?
No. Let's talk about Varian.
Oh, Varian. I see.
Varian matters. He does enough chip at base that he's solid. And you get a steel bow fairly early. I don't remember exactly where. And he actually ends up doing surprisingly higher damage than Muriel. And one other thing is that in chapter 5, when you start fighting dark mages and wyverns, dark mages actually have much lower base speed than the other enemies around. And because Muriel has kind of bad base magic and Fire's base might is really low, she doesn't do that much damage. So Varian's actually better than her at baiting dark mages and hitting them at 2 range, which is valuable because you don't have that many characters that can enemy phase well in this game. And enemy phasing even decently against one enemy type is solid enough utility that he's good.
I see.
And especially because he has bow access against wyverns, he can combo for kills. He doesn't kill them alone, But like Steel Bow plus Long Q Killing Edge or Steel Bow plus Frederick Iron Sword can kill them.
Yep.
So when you start kiting, especially in Chapter 5 on the left side, when you start kiting the Wyverns, Varian does very good damage, which no one else does. And, okay, stipulation here.
No one else.
Elwyn's effective against Wyverns. The issue is, on turn 1, Rickon's running away. On turn 2, you're rescuing him, but he's still running away. And on turn 3 or later, when you finally get it, you put it on Robin. Why would you put it on anyone else?
Yep.
So, no one else
Speedrun plays the exact same way, don't worry. Speedrun plays the exact same way.
Yep. No, I forgot to put this. A little stipulation with Varian.
I think he gets like one combat in speedrun. That's about it.
So like a little stipulation with Varian. His growths are shit. He falls off super hard, and that's completely fine. I am so glad they added a character that doesn't scale, contributes to the early game that you just shelve. It is kind of a skill check to understand as a player that you can use this character for a limited time and then bench them. It's something that happens with pre-promotes and other Fire Emblem games. It's something that does not happen a lot in this game, but it does with Varian, and I'm so happy. And every other early game character is terrible. Okay, that is all I have to say about the early game. Do you have any comments about what I've said so far?
No, that's fair.
Okay, let's talk about the mid game. So I put this up to about Chapter 14, and I designate Chapter 14 along with the couple paralogs I played here because I knew that I wanted Robin to do something. And I, going to, throughout both Awakening and the rest of the series, like play these games fairly meta. I know what a good Robin looks like, an easy-to-use Robin, and I was like, I'll just build into that. I will get enough access to Master Seals and Secondary Seals that I can just throw them all on Robin and make her work. And I also want to add this stipulation that without the specific restrictions that I made on my gameplay, the rest of the game is completely trivial. I could let all the chests go away, I could let all the recruitable characters die, and Robin would kill everything.
Yep. Actually dies in the speedrun.
Yep.
Rip.
But that's not how I like to play the game. I like to see if the map introduces interesting challenges that force you to engage with them in some creative way, some time-sensitive way, some tactical way. So this is where those extra restrictions I mentioned before come in. Don't lose chests, don't lose villages, kill enemies that have droppable items. And I wanted to see, will there, at any point from Chapter 9 to Chapter 25 of Awakening, and the paralogs I will unlock, be any chapter that actually punishes me for only using one character, under these rules? And we will see. Okay. Let's talk about what I wanted my Robin to be. She can get through about a full class. Tier 1 to level 10 or Tier 2 to level 5. Didn't push her to level 15 too often. In about one chapter because of Veteran. Even with the XP discount or the XP degradation from reclassing. So here's what I did. I wanted Grandmaster just to level in it because I had boosted XP gain. I got to Rally Spectrum. I didn't really need Rally Spectrum because no one was getting rallied by her when she was doing all the combat. And then I wanted to go Merc for Arms Thrift, which is useful for saving weapon uses. Hero for Soul. And then Pegasus Knight. I don't think I really had a reason to go Pegasus Knight instead of just directly into Darkflyer, but Relief actually ended up being pretty useful. If you don't remember, that's if there's no ally within 3 spaces inside the turn, heal 20%.
I know Relief, yeah.
Darkflyer for Gale Force. Yep. And then Dark Mage class line. Now, you see an issue here?
A lot of classes.
Sorry, Sorcerer. Why did you get Soul if you were just gonna use Nosferatu?
Yeah.
Shut up. Okay. So let's talk about the few chapters where I got punished for this, because I did not look at the chapter before I did any of my reclassing. Robin's a merc in the Gangrel chapter. Which is fine. There are reinforcements if you see like the C and D in the image on the left. So basically, it's just Robin runs down and everyone else runs left. Robin and Parapartner run down. But you see the pink forts on the right. What happened in this map is that Robin could kill everything at 1 range, and then 8 enemies would surround her at 2 range, barely chipping her. and then Gangrel would kill her because Gangrel's stats in this chapter are crazy.
Yeah.
Robin with cap stats as a merc cannot double Gangrel in this chapter. Gangrel's
I'm used to
actually
Robin being a dark flyer in this chapter.
yeah, but I didn't go that route. This is a route map anyway. So okay, another thing.
Yeah,
so
it's a route map anyways. Yeah.
The bottom right corner where the like escape tile is where the thief will run to, but the thief actually opens chest number 1 and not chest number 2. So it runs like from the bottom right to like the middle left and then all the way back to the bottom right. Turns out if you just like run in a straight line down, you kill them. So that's the only time sensitive objective in this map.
Yep.
And like I don't have anything interesting to say. Robin just like went until she happened to survive enough times and then chipped off the enemies. I think I used a physics tab I got somewhere. I'm pretty sure you have physics access. If not, I know I did something else. Probably like kited enemies or long
You have physics access, I'm pretty sure as well.
Yeah, that's it. That's the only interesting thing on this map. Just know I made the stupid decision to make my Robin 1 range, and that's the only reason this map was difficult.
Yep. This map.
I made my Robin a Pegasus Knight on the map where there are 2 archers in both the left and the right half. The archer has a silver bow and the sniper has a long bow, and both of them kill Robin.
Just us.
Huh?
Boss, this is a free
It is kill boss. You're right. We'll get there. The pink forts spawn longbow snipers. I believe the only droppable item is from this guy with a C. Oh, and this archer. Okay, so there's like some droppable items subject to my rules. I just killed everything.
That's the enemy you kill to get Gale Force in this chapter.
Yeah. Okay. Long Q dodge tank. Basically, what I did is I just undeployed everyone except like Long Q, Robin, Crom, and I don't even remember the last one. Oh, Henry. Right. I just paired Henry with Long Q so he didn't die. And I just held the choke point on the bottom right, the one tile choke point, let Long Q kill everything else, and then just like dealt with the archers well enough that it took long enough for the other archers to come around. I don't know if I listed it here. Yeah, I did do that. Yeah, this is a kill boss chapter. I just wanted the experience. I know. I did die here a very funny way, which is you see the orange fort in the middle.
Yeah.
On Lunatic, there's a warrior who spawns there with counter. He ran into my Long Q and Long Q killed himself.
Ah, I see.
Yeah, no counter plus. This isn't Lunatic plus, but that's funny. Okay. This is the only other chapter that's like self-imposed difficult. I was a Dark Flyer. She had 1-2 range. She was killing everything on the map. But there's like a combination of sorry, not snipers, but like with the bowmen, right? The enemies on the right that have silver bows that can kill Robin. She still like was dodging. She still had like 45% hit rate from them, right? Now I don't know if you remember how you start this chapter, but you can choose to ally yourselves with the left or right half. I could have just not fought the archers, but I didn't feel like it.
Yep, this is the mercenary one. Yep. Okay.
And I didn't do anything interesting. I just waited to proc enough like dual guards and elixirs to kill all the archers. But then my issue is that Yarn kept killing himself. So my way of working around that was some AI manipulation because they go after the enemies that they think they can kill. So I brought flyers, and if you notice in the bottom left corner, there are spaces that are 3 tiles away from ground. So you can just alternate standing there and standing on ground and make enemies run back and forth. That's it. Cordelia and Shersh were just like the 2 flyers I decided to use. There's not much more there. There's absolutely 0 time constraint on this map. There's no thief that runs for the villages. Yarn's recruitment is whatever. You just have to make sure you don't end the map first. I actually got to the point where I killed every enemy on the map and kited Yarn around in a circle with my other characters while Robin flew and visited the villages.
Yep.
That's it. Nothing else in the mid game is worth talking about. Because every single other map has a combination of like maybe a thief but negligible time constraints, and the only difficulty is if they give you a shitter you have to keep alive. But you could just pair them with Robin.
Yep.
There are maps where I need to steal things, right? Get chests. But it's easier on those maps to just kill everything and then run around with guys and get the chests.
Yep.
And then I got Anna. And Anna does the same thing with higher base stats and is actually good.
Yep.
And the only reason I faced any challenge is because I chose bad times to pick my classes.
Yes.
right? This is not the game being challenging. It's me being stupid.
Yep.
That's all I have for the mid game.
I saw those classes.
Yeah. No, I don't think my routing was that bad, right? I could have probably arms drift matters. Arms drift doesn't matter actually. Arms drift mattered for a bit, but then it stopped mattering. Soul doesn't matter. I could have probably just like skipped the first class and then just gone Pegasus sorcerer or just gone sorcerer, but it's fine. Now all the complaints I had about early game characters I already mentioned before don't really apply to these characters because they actually contribute on their maps. And especially enemy recruitable characters give the added challenge of not killing them with your hyper carry, which is more interesting than anything else the map's presented so far. And the other thing is that I benched my staffers because I didn't feel like master sealing them. And Libra and Anna, both good. Libra at some point just starts getting doubled by things and dying. Anna kind of doesn't. And they're fine. They're fine at their base, and the enemies just don't scale hard enough to actually punish them. And they could probably take a hit even towards the end game. And a little bit of foreshadowing: Anna will be taking a lot of hits for a very stupid reason. Or actually, I don't think it's Anna. The other thing that I really didn't dislike, or I really disliked about this part of Awakening, is that you get too much. Let's talk about Long Q for a bit. I made him use his killing edge every single time he killed something because he has 4 base strength.
Yes.
If he used any other weapon, he'd do negligible damage. But he can crit things. It has, I think, like 8 base might. It's pretty good. He eventually got to the point that he had 12 strength, and I didn't have steel or silver access. I would have had iron and steel sword locked Long Q, and he could still sit there and not die, probabilistically, but he couldn't kill anything, and that's a problem. Except in Chapter 8, you get a killing edge. They're like afraid that you're going to break your killing edge. They gave you 3 chapters earlier. They give you another one. And this keeps happening. You get an Iron Lance super early for Frederick to replace his, like, whichever he steals from one of the calves, or you just get it. Tomes on Robin, because you get Elwyn from Rickon.
Oh, you should see that the tome routing, the speed on is like 2 every weapon use.
Like, yeah, but like it's just that every time you're about to consume one, you get another one, right? Lissa's rescue staff, which I was
it's like lined up perfectly. I don't know how.
It's because the game doesn't want you to run out of resources. Like I imagine in the speedrun, like there are a lot of route maps, so you have to use tomes more than other things. But just think, right? Yeah. If the tomes you're using more than anything else don't exhaust for the full game, what happens to the other resources? Because you get everything, right? You're gonna get like 3 killer lances, and you just don't have a lance user to use them. Right? Here's the thing. When I was playing the game naturally, I kept getting replenished resources before I even exhausted my previous ones. And what that means is you don't have to hoard anything. Just hit everything with your strongest items, buy more if you want it, and stipulation that you only get this money when you start getting bullion drops from like half the bosses in the mid game. So it's very easy to just like never actually buy weapons. If you want to, you can. You could buy like Alfire tomes at some point that are valuable. And you could forge, which is good. Probably on a bow earlier, but like it's just you get too much money, you get too many weapons, and you never get punished for using your valuable resources. You never feel like you're about to run out. And let's talk about side objectives. I ranted about this, but basically Robin plus pair up could beat everything. There are a lot of maps where there's only one thief. Robin kills them, or they're running for a chest. You kill them after they open the chest. And chapter 10, the Mustafa chapter, there are, I believe, 4 thieves running away, but they're all running to the same corner. So you just run up one corridor and you intercept all of them, and they're staggered. They're like staggered perfectly so that if you run in a straight line and kill one per turn, you kill all of them. Like, so many maps in Awakening are amenable to this run in a straight line, kill everything type behavior, which is just boring. The other thing is like I need a flyer, right? Sometimes, but like the flyer doesn't need to do anything; it just has to be there. And all this to say, I was playing this minigame hoping to get punished for only using one character under my rules, under where I'm hoping the maps have some more interesting question to ask, and I just didn't. If you have to snowball, or at least you feel like you have to snowball to clear the early game, to have viable characters that don't die, you get infinite resources, and there's no objective that makes you go off the beaten course, why would you use anyone else? Right? Every other character in the game is a liability, so just don't use them. Is there someone you want to keep alive? Because if you don't, then you fail your self-imposed restrictions? Then just don't let them see any combat. Run them behind your hyper carry, and because every enemy in Awakening is aggressive, they'll just run into your hyper carry and die. And voila, your character hasn't done anything. I'll get here. This is probably like my most combative stance about Awakening. Under my rule set. You want to say something?
The video is like also like this in the speedrun. Nope.
But like my rules are different than the speedrun. I respect the speedrun.
Yeah.
But like I'm saying, look, the speedrun just says like screw recruitable characters, screw items I don't need. I'm just gonna run in a straight line, right? That's always the fastest way to beat the game. I'm saying I want recruitable characters, I want items, and I still just run in a straight line.
Yes.
Right? There are games that don't do this. Okay, add to the Thracia counter. Thracia doesn't do this. Thracia, you can have an insanely good combat character, but they have to be in 5 places at once. You need movement utility. You need good combat. You need to be able to position well. You have to predict enemy actions. It's so much different than this. And now, let's talk about why I didn't do every map. If every character is a liability and I'm not feeling it, I'm not getting supports.
Yeah.
Right? And like, in theory, I could just sit there and support grind after clearing the map, right? Just like hope there's enough space to like sit flyers, get children, farm in the child paralogs. As long as I can find enough space in enough places, I can just wait, right? That's boring. So I just decided I'm not even going to do the children paralog I don't unlock, right?
Yep.
That's under my stipulation. And I'll circle back to this again at the end. So I only had 2 S supports, Long Q Pen and Crom Robin. That means I got 3 kids.
There it is. Yep.
Right? I got Yarn, I got Lucina, and I got Morgan.
Yep.
Right? Yarn and Lucina are shit. Or rather,
yep.
They survive, right? Characters in the mid games survive, but at this point, survival isn't the benchmark. Robin kills everything, so I field them. And I'm sure this holds for every other child character. Again, we'll circle back to this. Even if I got them, even if I wasted the time to farm support rank and get that paralog, the paralog would just turn into experience for Robin. Like, why go out of my way for it? It just didn't seem fun. I wouldn't use them. And we'll circle back to Morgan a while later. Now,
More foreshadowing.
There's a map that punishes you for this. I don't know if you remember. We have gotten to chapter 14 at this point. So if you recall, that means there's chapter 15, which is the Sayri chapter, through chapter 25, which is the Grima chapter, including any other paralogs that arrive at this point. There is a map where you cannot beat it with one carry. I'll let you think about it. You can verbalize if you want. I won't accept or deny. I knew of this map's existence 100%. This was the map I was the most worried about, and I didn't have a plan. And I wanted to be punished, right? I want to be proven that I don't need a hyper carry, where I need to field other characters to achieve my objective. If only it actually satisfied it. I think you will find this the most interesting part of this presentation. Because I did not know this before going into the game, and then I did it, and I was like, why? Why is this
Do
you know the map? You know the map?
I think so.
We'll get there. Part 3. The end game. I beat the game. It's worth talking about. My Robin did 5 times 2, so Grima's 80 HP, and then Crom just proc dual strike 4 times. So I 2-turned it. Now remember, what I'm looking for is to be punished, forced to play fast, right? Forced to hit objectives, forced to miss things that I cannot be that I am punished for if I only have one source of damage, right?
Yeah.
Do you remember this chapter?
Yep. This chapter. Yep.
So if you recall, There's a thief. Actually, I don't remember if there's a thief. I'm pretty sure there's a thief that goes for a chest. I don't know where it is on this map. I don't know if it spawns. I killed it. Whatever, right?
No.
But every single turn, there's a Mire Sorcerer, a pair of Mire Sorcerers that appear on the highest unoccupied stairs.
Yep.
And with just one hyper carry, you can maybe kill the combat characters, but you can't ferry the carry. You can't ferry the luck touch units around the map fast enough to get out of range of the Mire Sorcerers. Mire is 310 range siege tome, right?
Yeah,
So actually, like you see how high up on the map they are. There are going to be chests that are in like 4 overlapping ranges of Mire tomes, and you die to 2, maybe even die to 1, depending on if it's Gaius, who I'm definitely not feeling at this point, right? This was a problem. I was like, finally, I'm getting punished. And the other thing is, you can't actually get to them. There's no way to move a character there. There's no warp staff. There's no stairs, right? And you get a dropped Mire tome from this map. But my Robin couldn't kill them. Because you can't double, right?
No.
Now, let me add a little stipulation here. I realized as I wrote this slide in my recap that my Robin had Arms Thrift and had enough luck to guarantee Mire doesn't get used up. So I could have actually killed everything with Robin just by hitting them enough. But I forgot about it.
No.
So how did I do this? Yeah. So what did I do? What did I do, Jason?
You threw Robin at everything? Oh.
I broke their Mire tomes.
Yeah, no. You kind of do this in the speedrun. You just have Cyree babysit Crom in the corner and go around.
Well, like
Robin Frederick killing
like,
everything.
The stipulation here is that I needed anything in these chests, which I didn't.
Yeah.
Right? I just chose to play this way. And
also, you need the bolt axe from the guy at the bottom, but yeah. But
like, that's whatever. I wasn't using
that's
axe.
whatever. You're getting that.
Yeah, I'm getting that. But like, once I broke all their faces, I just walked around with Anna. So I took 97 turns, but there was no time pressure, right?
No.
This is the closest map that's come to there actually being time pressure, but the objective doesn't run away.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
Okay. And here's the line. You just run in a straight line, right? Like Robin killed.
That is the exact line used in the speedrun.
like, what other line is there? The map is a straight line. Also, let me add one more stipulation. I don't remember if I put it here. This is a kill boss chapter, but the boss doesn't move. So you have the time, right? We'll circle back to that.
Yeah.
So let's talk about endgame map design. They follow the formula I mentioned before, right? They have these fronts of combat. Like, if you think of the Deadlord chapter, if you think of, not the one I just showed you, but like Military, right?
Military, yep.
Like, there are fronts of combat, there's interesting terrain, there's time side objectives. But Robin's so strong, she can just run in a straight line through all of them.
Yep.
Right? You generally only have one time side objective to hit. And if you eliminate the threat to it, or you rush it down, then Robin just turns around and kills everything, and then you do the objective. Right? That's unfortunate, because the maps do align with what I liked before. And now let's talk about Nosferatu. So the main reason I took Arms Thrift is because I thought it would be limited supply. I didn't look ahead.
Nope.
I didn't look at a speed run. You could just buy them for 900 gold after chapter 16. Like, why? Why would they put this insane weapon in a shop? And, like, you could forge it, sure.
Yeah.
But, like, you don't need to. Now, I don't remember if I put this in. I found it in a Versus Knight, and I forged that instead, and I used Arm Thrift on that. So my Robin did more damage, but she would have killed Nosferatu anyway. Right? Like,
yeah.
And the other thing is, this is why I mentioned, like, weapon versus magic isn't a big thing. As long as you have a 1-2 range option, and you take combat slowly enough that you're probably guaranteed to survive them, which at this point is not a 40% chance, but like a 99% chance. Just move slower. Right? Just move slower and field physic. And you have good staff users at this point. So what matters? I think Nosferatu is still overwhelming because you really don't have to think with it. But I'm convinced that if you didn't have it, there are other options. And now, this is the map I was foreshadowing. Do you remember chapter 17X?
17X.
This
Oh, this Tiki's
I
Prologue. Okay, yeah.
knew this map would punish me for playing this way.
Yeah.
Because subject to my rules, I had to do this map. If you ignore the only side objective of this map, you undeploy everyone but Crom and Robin, and you end turn for 6 turns, and the map is over. But Tiki dies. And in order to recruit her, you have to keep her alive. And it's almost impossible with just one carry. Because of these traits. First, nothing impedes the enemies. The forests give you dodge, but the flyers run over it. Second, every enemy on the map is aggressive on turn 1, except for the boss.
Yep.
And the third one is they have thief AI. They don't have aggro AI.
Yep.
So if you put a hyper carry out, they'll run around them to reach Tiki.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
And there are ambush spawn reinforcements on turns 2 through 5 on all the red squares, and I think on later turns on the orange ones, that have 1-2 range. There are dark flyers with magic, there are wyverns with short axes, there are spear flyers, spear falconites, and they all dodge you, right? So when I was a kid, I mentioned I grinded to limit break. Well, I grinded limit break on 13 characters, so I just put a wall around Tiki and didn't move her and ended turn 6 times.
Yep.
You can't do that if every character in the wall dies.
Yeah.
Right? So what did I do when I was trying this blind? I knew I had to move Tiki up a square, right? Rescue is not a mechanic, but if I only had to defend her from 3 sides instead of 4, it would be a bit easier.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah.
How do you move her up a square, by the way? Do you know?
Well, rescue staff, I presume?
Rescue staff. You have to like position your character so she can only be rescued north, or only be rescued to the side. And I thought I could just shift her a bit further left, defend on the left, player phase the lance enemies who are more dangerous, and then enemy phase the wyverns who I can dodge. But this doesn't work. Because you need enough combat characters that can sit in front of Tiki even with that limited space. Like if you put her on the front, the reason I say like 5 to 9 is that 5 I think is the minimum amount where no enemy can two-face. Just think you make a V around her. I don't know if you can see my mouse, but like push her up a square and then put characters in like every 2 ranges from her. But if you do that, they're exposed to like 2 melee attacks and 3 range attacks.
Yep.
9 is a box shape. And you can't player face the Pegasi. Because they're just going to ambush spawn you. So what do I do? Right? When you only have 1 hyper carry, what do you do on this map? I think you'll find this absolutely fascinating.
Ooh.
This is the funniest part of my Awakening playthrough, the greatest travesty of this entire thing. Remember, I want to be unable to clear this map.
Yep.
Right? Have you heard of Fire Emblem WOD? Every picture I brought from here, if you look in the bottom right, is from this, right?
Yeah, you showed me Fire Emblem WOD.
They have documentation. Let's look at the documentation. This chapter is more about surviving, because unless you have several units with the Gale Force skill and rescue staffs to finish it on the first turn, you will not be able to defeat all the reinforcements instantly, and there are a lot. Moreover, the way the enemies move is quite strange. If Tiki is within reach, but they cannot pass through your formation, they will only attack your characters and on the horizontal or vertical line of the map where Tiki is.
I did not know that.
In other cases, they will not attack you if you wait for them to do so on the enemy turn, and enemies with 1-2 range will only attack from close range unless it's to attack Tiki if they can hit her. And then they had a diagram. Look at the part where they say the bold type represents the units they will attack only.
Ah.
What the fuck?
So you need 3 characters.
Yes. So to clarify this, what will happen is, as long as you can put 2 characters that can survive enemies, just survive them, every other enemy will run into Robin and kill themselves. Every 1-2 range and every 1 range.
Yep.
And they'll completely ignore the frontlining characters even if they steal 1 round. Now, that's not trivial yet, right? The frontliners have to handle a melee character. Basically, I'll go back. If you're on the top of the map and you're talking about the character to the left or right of Tiki, they have to handle an adjacent enemy and 2 range enemies. Right? You have to survive that. You see it? 3 enemies you have to survive, right?
Yeah.
Now, do I have characters that can do that? Well, here's the other thing. They don't attack characters inside the wall. They don't attack other characters on the wall. So as long as you live, even if you take a ton of damage, if you live, you can dance healers who are standing in your wall. You can frontline with Lissa
Yep.
and dance her with the
Yeah.
men's staff, with Olivia
Yep.
inside
Yep.
your formation, and
Yes.
just keep them alive, right? As long as you heal them back to full, they survive a 1 melee, 2 range, Robin just kills everything else.
Yep.
Now, like I said, Robin's frontlining. Longq's sitting there. Longq can dodge tank against the Wyverns, right?
Yep.
Who's the third slot?
Hmm. Who would you have as? Did you do this like immediately when you unlocked it?
Yes.
Who else would you have?
But I think
at
the
this
only
point?
characters you recruit after this point are Flavia and Basilio.
Yeah.
Let's talk about part
Oh.
8.2. If you remember, part 8.1 was what I called maidenless, where you don't get
Yeah.
any child characters if you don't deploy them. Now let's look at the
Yeah.
formula for how child character stats are calculated.
Ah.
It is mother's current stats minus mother
Oh, this is
class
where-
fates. It's every
I
personal
see.
stat of the mother plus every personal stat of the father plus their actual bases divided by 3 plus their
Yep.
class bases.
Yep.
So, in theory, if you had a Robin where every single one of her stats was 30 above the class base
Yeah.
with Gale Force, and
Yeah.
Crumb's promoted, so he has some stats,
Yeah.
what happens?
Morgan.
Every time you build a hyper carry, you get a second hyper carry.
Yep.
This is guaranteed.
Well,
Their bases-
as long as they're female, right? Oh no.
It doesn't matter. Gale Force is a side point. They just have stats. It's just a giant
Yeah.
ball of stats, right?
No, I'm talking about the children were locked to females, but then I realized, oh wait, just married.
You're gonna
someone.
pair up someone, right? So yeah, you have to be intelligent
Yeah.
about pairing up your frontliner with a female, right?
Yeah.
Or your frontliner being a female. If it's fake, you got to pair him up with like I don't know, female Robin or Sumia,
No.
right? You have to be smart about getting the child, but it's so trivial.
Yeah.
They will immediately contribute. My level 10 tactician Morgan was 2-rounding enemies on her starting map, which no other deployed
Yes.
character, no other starting character I've had has ever done. And because they're level 10 unpromoted, they gain so much XP they scale.
Yep.
My Morgan has veteran, obviously,
Yeah.
and a sorcerer access, so she has Nosferatu. Or he has Nosferatu, right? I use female Robin.
Yeah. Yep.
But like, look at this, right? You get to chapter 12, and I've shown that in the early game, there's no need for a second hyper carry. In like every other late game map, there's no need for a second hyper carry, except for this one. But by chapter 12, or a bit later, if you feel like scaling your stats so your child starts out stronger, you just get a second one for free. And if there was ever a problem with rushing down the one-timed objective with your one hyper carry, you just use the second one. Like, this is really bad, right? So what do? This is supposed to be a map where you field a bunch of characters to surround Tiki and all of them die. But because the AI has been specifically programmed to only attack 3 characters, and it's pretty easy to get 3 characters, with the stipulation you need someone that survives, right? Probably Frederick could survive this with a few levels, right? Like,
Yeah.
probably like a Kellen pair up. Like, basically, if you gave anyone else chip, maybe just another child character, Lucina could survive, right? You just have to have them
Yeah.
face tank the Wyverns. Like, as long as you have a third slot, this map is doable. And it didn't have to be this way, right? This map looks like you're going to be attacked at every single angle and all your characters will die.
Yep.
But it still rewards hyper carries. But what's the alternative, right? Look at this map. If the enemies could attack your other characters, I don't think
Yep.
anyone could beat this map. Because you need to be able to frontline with a bunch of different characters. And I didn't even tell you how much attack these enemies have. You want to know how much attack they have? You want to guess what the lowest attack value is of an enemy on this map?
Probably like 30 something. But
30 something! 47!
damage. Not.
Attack. Yeah, sorry, damage with silver lances and silver weapons,
Oh,
silver axes,
I thought you meant
spears.
stats, but yeah.
My bad. Yeah,
okay.
like it's like
Yeah.
30, 32, 33, right?
Yeah.
This is chapter 2 with even less cover than chapter 2 has.
Yep.
So, like, I've been saying I want to be punished for being hyper carried, for just specking this hyper carry, but like the alternative for this map is just that you die. It's just that you have no way of clearing it.
Yep.
Like I don't know. Surely people have devised some more intelligent strategies. But like, if this AI exploit didn't exist to only attack like 3 types of enemies, like, what would you do? Okay, now obviously I have to put a tier list in, right? We've talked about the entire game. Now let's talk about
Yeah.
how characters are useful, and I just have to flash a bunch of information here. Let's go from top to bottom. Robin did things. Robin was my hyper carry for the entire game. Morgan
Yeah.
was my hyper carry for the mid game that supplemented everything Robin couldn't do. I couldn't have gotten
Yeah.
Tiki without Morgan. Morgan could just sit there and Nosferatu tank everything anyway. He'd be on second fronts. He's just good. Pan was a parabot for long Q. I think if Pan wasn't a
Yeah.
parabot for long Q, she would still be good as a parabot elsewhere. She's not actually. She's just not high in my playthrough. Lucina gets default C support with her sibling. It's just in this case was Morgan.
Yep.
She was good. Crom
And yep.
and like Lord is a good class. It's speed skill.
Yeah.
Now, the utility tier is ordered. Also, the high value pair up tier is ordered. Crom could be higher just because he has dual strike plus, and that mattered. Now, let's talk about the utility tier. And you might notice one really controversial thing, which is that the dancer's in the middle of the tier.
Yeah. I was like, what the frick is why is Olivia?
Why is Lissa high and why is Anna high? Here's the answer. The early game would be impossible without Lissa.
That's fair.
Right? I value
Yeah.
characters that do something at a point where no one else can, right?
Yeah.
Like I think a character can be S tier just for making a map possible. Lissa makes maps possible. Anna, I genuinely deployed more than Olivia. And it's because she can heal, which sometimes mattered, so I could use an action with Robin to do things. And she has lock touch. And I didn't feel like putting in the time to give anyone else lock touch. And because she was good enough at base to
That's
use lock touch and run around and not die too badly, she could hit objectives that I didn't have anyone else good enough to do.
that's fair because like you don't need a dancer based off your stipulations of grabbing every chest and stuff. So
Well, here's
you
the
were taking
other
your
thing.
time.
In half the maps that I would have liked to deploy Olivia, she's a liability because if she stays behind, she dies.
Yeah, if you're not, most of the mid game is if you don't one turn the map with Olivia, she dies.
Yeah. So there were a lot of maps where like I could get all the objectives, and the dancer was so much of a liability I didn't even field her.
Yeah. No, I completely. Yeah, I understand.
And Libra
I
has
can see
stabs,
that.
and Libra didn't die. Libra could actually contribute in combat, and in chapter what is it, like 8
This joint chapter.
joint chapter where it kind of
kills us.
mattered. And again, Gaius has utility that no one else does, which is that he opened chests at a point where no one else in my army could.
Yep.
Valuable. Frederick again makes the early game possible, right?
Yes.
The
yep.
first like 4 maps would be completely impossible without him. I benched mine. I'm sure you could make your scale. I didn't need to because my Robin scaled. And invaluable for early game minus is because Vake and Kellum. Vake actually contributes damage because 13 is pretty significant, and he has a good
Yeah.
para bonus of like I think it's 5 strength, 3 defense.
Yep.
Kellum has 4 defense, which is really good, and Varian does chip that no one else can, and is actually good against the Wyverns in the early game.
Yep.
These tiers are actually ordered, and you'll notice long Q is pretty low.
Yeah.
That's because I'm pretty sure I could use anyone else in place of long Q. And where did long Q actually contribute in my playthrough, right? He helped a bit on his join chapter alongside Frederick. He held choke points at relevant points in chapters 11 and 13, where I only
And
needed him to
anything
hold
next.
those choke points because I was stupid with how I planned my Robin.
Yeah.
And he stood there and didn't die against the Wyverns in chapter 17X, which,
Yep.
as long as there's any character that can do that, and I'm convinced it could be someone other than long Q, he's not that unique, right? It's just he happened to be early and I wanted to give him some levels, so he did something, right? If I gave those levels to someone else, they'd do something. Mirabelle's a healer in the early game, which is good. Sumia gives speed pair up, which is really good.
Yep.
I think
I was like, Sumi's a parapod.
like Sumia, I've heard Sumia can scale. You can get her dark flyer access. She has good kids. Like you can level her. She's solid mid game, but like, why would I? Why would I when I have Robin? Did something minus. Let's talk about this tier. Muriel
Yeah.
again contributes chip in early game that no one else can, right?
Yep.
Sometimes it matters. Flavia and Basilio killed
Join way too
one
late.
enemy in chapter 23 that Robin was too far away from, and if she didn't kill them, it would have taken more turns because there are ambush spawns.
Don't worry. That's the same exact purpose of the speedrun.
Yes.
They're the same exact purpose of the speedrun.
Killed one merc, and I was like, my pre-pros don't die in one turn, let's go!
Yep.
Cordelia was a fairy bot, could contribute some damage in chapter 7, and was my way of getting down through chapter 11, the Gangrel chapter fast. She was alright. I could have again scaled her if I fed her more levels, but I didn't need to, and it was a bit of a hassle, and I had Robin, right? Cherish, the only credit I've given Cherish so far is that she kills 3 knights in her starting chapter. What I failed to tell you is that those 3 knights are immediately behind, or are immediately defended in overlapping ranges by 4 paladins that one round her. So she's not that good. She has good starting defense. She has solid starting speed, and she has good axe rank. So like she has utility in her point of the game. You could probably make her work. She did something for me, right? She kited the sorcerers on Yarn's chapters, so I could just run Robin somewhere else.
Yep.
And every other character is a liability. Noe has 1-2 range, but literally gets one rounded by every single enemy on her map because she has so little speed.
Yep.
I didn't even use Tiki after I spent all the effort on recruiting her, and I didn't play the Child Paralogs.
Yep. Or the Xenologs, it looks like.
Yeah, because I didn't feel like doing the post game. My goal is just finish the game.
Yep.
Now, what more do I have to say about Awakening? What do I think? There were genuinely interesting, good maps at the early game. Chapters 3, 4, and 5, mainly chapter 3 and 5, great maps. Solid, condensed design, good enough units to deal with enemies. The thing is, a lot of the early game... Huh?
I would call 5 condensed.
5 gives you choke points, right? Like my terminology earlier was semi-open.
Yeah.
Like obvious delineated fronts of battle where you have to deal with changing battle conditions. Chapter 5 is great for that. It's really hard.
Yeah.
But I think it's fair.
Yeah.
But the more open maps, the ones where you have to shield your player units as a liability, are not fair. The best way to play those maps is to take probabilistic openers that are not in your favor and hope you scale. And the thing is, again, for all the points I mentioned earlier, you use a hyper carry. You scale, and then once they scale, because the enemies scale less fast than you scale, you're always going to outpace them. And there's not a single side objective that actually punished me for using a hyper carry. Not only that, you get rewarded for using a hyper carry by getting a second hyper carry, right? So basically, the only maps that I was challenged by that I felt were a fair challenge in Awakening were chapters 3 and 5. Now, did I have fun? Yes. I haven't played Awakening in a long time. They're interesting early maps. I think sometimes it's fun to just have a snowball run where you just kill everything. And admittedly, I also have fun in drafting something like this, where I talk about what I do and don't like about the game, where I criticize the maps. But I don't think I'm going to play the game again. The thing is, like, I think there's no appropriate difficulty to play the game again on. Like, maybe I could do Lunatic and try to distribute my experience. Lunatic Plus is not happening, and Hard is too easy.
Yep.
Now, I'm going to be presumptuous and try to affect art. What could make me enjoy this more? I have a lot. Now, a ton of the things I've complained about were actually fixed in Fates. There's a huge list here. Pair up is less overwhelming. XP gain dampens when you're above a particular level compared to enemies, so it's harder to just beat a bunch of experience in that wall. Bases are high enough that you don't actually just die to early enemies.
Yep.
There are interesting time-sensitive objectives, like the Shura boat, where you constantly lose gold per turn you waste. Saizo's Ninja Village, which you just have to like make him not die when he's running in a straight line, which is an interesting escort mission. There are villages where there are brigands running for them, and you do have to overcommit to get there, or you have to use free staff uses to stop them from killing your reward just 10,000 gold. And it matters. The child stat formula is not nearly as overwhelming as Awakening, and they keep pace. And the resource management is more interesting because you get infinite weapons, but you get very limited good weapons, and you have limited gold. So you have to pick your forges, and you have to pick your characters you put those forges and good weapons on very selectively. And sometimes you need to trade them around. That introduces more interesting positional gameplay because you have more viable characters. Next. If there were any more side objectives that force you to move forward, I'd enjoy it more. Yanfei. I don't remember which chapter this is, but there's a chapter where you fight Yennefe in a volcano, and there are platforms
The
regularly
volcano,
being
yeah. I was
broken,
thinking
right?
about that earlier. Yep.
And this map does force you to move a little fast, because if a platform
Yep.
is destroyed with a chest on it, you lose the chest.
Yep.
But the chests are so close that if you can get to one of them in time, you can get to all of them in time. If they were
Yeah,
spread
I
out, so
thought
you
about
get,
this chapter when you were
Mhm.
just explaining it, but I was like, are the chests? It's like what is?
They're
It's a
like
three
7, 8 tiles.
by 6.
They're
Yeah.
like, it's close enough. And
Yeah.
like really, you could just wipe everything on the map beforehand. And the other thing
Yeah.
is like they don't get destroyed like one turn apart. Like there's intermediate tiles that
Yeah.
get destroyed between the
Yeah.
chests.
Yeah.
So you get to one, you get to all. It's not that bad. Um, and for things like the chapter 21, like where I was breaking the Mire Sorcerer's tomes on my face, because it's a kill boss chapter. If the boss ran at me and killed himself, I would have failed my objective,
The monster sits there.
right? Like transforming their AI, having something tied behind turn count, right? Having enemies that start further away so you have to overstretch to catch them, having more than one thief run away with an item and not all run to the same point like in chapter 10. Anything that forces you to move forward, I would find more interesting. And the next thing, stats are too high.
Yep.
Stats are too high in the enemy's favor in the early game because they just hit you too hard, and they have too high of defenses or your characters have too low of attack to the point that you can't meaningfully chip them with your non-busted characters or your non core characters. And growth rates and caps are too high. The thing is, like, by the time you're in the end game, the enemies don't have their stats capped, and you're going around with a 40 speed Robin. Like, they're
Yep.
never going to scale to you. If stat caps were lower, so you had meaningful endgame decisions because your characters can't just kill everything, or your growth rates were lower. So there's still a period of time, a longer period of time, where you don't just speed creep everything, or maybe with bad stat growth, you end up getting reverse speed crept. I think that would be interesting. And yeah, at this point, you're always going to outscale them. And more varied map design. Because another thing is, basically, the only gimmick Awakening has is every enemy runs at you at once.
Yep.
Sometimes with an enemy running away because it's a thief. If there were defend maps, if there were escape maps, places where you had to deploy characters and run all of them away, right? If there were like multi-point seize maps, maybe. If there were multiple
Yeah.
fronts of battle where you need multiple characters at different points, like then there would be a reason to use more than one character.
But everything's a route or
Yeah, everything's
defeat boss.
route seize or kill boss, so it
Yep.
doesn't matter. Next up, I think there are ways to make the game more interesting with some self-imposed challenges. LTCs, of course. I think if you were forced to not turtle, like I did in a lot of the early game, you would have more interesting positional gameplay. If you needed to get every child character and were still doing low turn counts, so you were just ending turn for support rank, I think that would also be interesting. Being forced to field characters, even if they're bad, just to get their children, or perhaps because you need to level them so they're not as bad, so you can field them and get their children without them being a liability, I think would be interesting. But I'm not doing it. And you and I, had a draft where we
Yep.
banned Robin, but
Yep.
that wasn't enough. I had Long Q become Robin, you had Crom become Robin, right?
Yep.
So anyone can do it. Vague can do it. I talked about that before.
Yep.
Now, let's revisit this point. I mentioned this. If you have a probabilistic, a low probability solution that you just have to go right as an opener, I don't think that's interesting. But there are games that take this point and do make it interesting. And there are two mechanics. Can you guess what I'm going to talk about?
Thracia?
No.
Okay.
Thracia does the opposite. Thracia gives you tools. Okay, now we'll talk about Thracia a bit. Thracia gives you tools to mitigate randomness. Thracia doesn't make the randomness a gameplay factor. Thracia gives you scrolls so you don't get crit. Those really matter. I'll make the Thracia Valley. Don't worry, but I want to do that after someone else plays the game.
Okay.
Let's start. This one you'll probably predict. Rewinding actions. So, Divine Pulse, Miller's Trade Wheel let you undo character and enemy actions, right?
Yep.
I think this is a bit interesting. The thing is, these are ways of mitigating risk. You can use it to rig crits, you can use it to undo enemy crits, but there are different use cases in those games. Three Houses had interesting ambush spawns. I don't know if you remember, but it's basically once you walk into an enemy range, on player phase, the enemies appear. So you still have more player actions to act, But because you know it's a trigger zone, you can use Divine Pulse to undo it. The enemies don't spawn, and you can position better, which is interesting. I have a lot more complaints about Three Houses, but I'll give it this.
Yep.
Echoes gives you enough mitigation to limit bad RNG. So what you do is you take a strategy that has an 80%, an 85% chance of working, that has to hit some hits, and when you miss a hit that's critical for that strategy that was still more than likely going to hit, you undo it and you try again.
Yep.
If you like Hunter's Volley and both your hits are 50% crit rate, you double miss, you try again, right? This is taking a reliable strategy or semi-reliable strategy and making it more reliable. But that's not how it would be used in Awakening, in my opinion. At least as Awakening is currently designed. Sorry, I said this without making the point. Because in Awakening, you just use it to make your first action really good.
Yep.
You would make it so that your extremely low probability event happens. And that puts you in such a good position you can clear the rest of the map, hopefully. Which, to me, is still uninteresting. And having a mechanic that you could use at any time for doing this, I think, is uninteresting. But what if you couldn't do it at any time? Can you think of what the next thing I'm going to introduce is? Because this is a really, really interesting mechanic.
Go ahead.
Battle saves.
Oh, yeah.
But a specific type. Genealogy has a mechanic where you can just save at the beginning of every turn because Genealogy is so big. Radiant Dawn at lower difficulties lets you make a battle save at any point and resume from it without deleting it. I'm talking about the DS Fire Emblem game battle saves. Do you know how these work?
No.
This is really cool. So they have 1 to 2 tiles per map where you have to move a character to the tile and use their action to press the save button. And then it is a permanent save. You can reload it as many times as you want to redo events. And this introduces a really interesting strategic element because they'll put tiles like committed into enemy ranges. They'll put tiles off the beaten path where you have to move a character that you would otherwise use for combat with your core out of the way to reach it. And you have to pick the right time to use it. You have to determine how far you overextend. And then once you save, you can, from that point, choose an unreliable strategy and rig for it. And when I make my next presentation, you'll see it. And I've had this happen where I see a save, I think I need it, but the thing is when I put a character in range of the save, well, once I resume from the save, an enemy phase happens, 3 enemies gang up on them and they die. And I can't backtrack that because I made a bad decision to save, so I have to reset. I think this would be way more interesting in Awakening. Unfortunately, you have such shitty characters that it doesn't matter if you reroute them. But I think this could add something. I haven't thought it through enough, but this is an interesting mechanic. And now, I'm nearly done. Let's talk about the early game of it. My complaints with Awakening are that they made the enemies hit too hard, your player units are weak, you have to barely be alive, and it's all probabilistic, it's all random, right? But there's a game that did it better. I know it can be done well because I've played it done well. In Fire Emblem. What Fire Emblem game do you think I'm going to talk about? Let's see. A game where your units are squishy, but they don't die. You have limited terrain, and you have to play smart. Something's buzzing. A game where you have like a deep positional game you can play, and you have to spread your damage around for combos and kills. A game where there's constantly something happening you have to react to. From enemy density, from side objectives, from enemies running away, from chests. And you have growth units. You have investment projects you have to feed into, but they don't scale to the same extent that Robin does. What game is this?
This is the next game we're gonna play like one of the DS ones, right? Shadow Dragon or New Mystery.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Fire Emblem: New Mystery of the Emblem.
Yep.
That's it. That is the Awakening Rant.
That's it.
That's my
Transition.
80. It's my hour and a half, 85 slide awakening rant. Now, before I cut off the presentation, you want to say anything?
Uh,
Any
I feel like all
comments?
those points are. I think all those points are fair coming from the stipulations you put.
And, like, I want to hear your opinion because I know this is your favorite game.
Yeah.
Like, I can see. Sorry, I'm cutting you off again. I can see how when you add objectives like beating it as quickly as possible, right? Speedrunning, right? If you
Yeah.
add like train everything, then it could be interesting, particularly at lower difficulties. Perhaps it would be really nice to just have a difficulty that's not lunatic and not hard.
That's probably what it did. I
But like,
think if there's a difficulty that's like not hard, not lunatic, like this game would probably be better. But
the unfortunate thing is like because of the scaling problem here, because like once
yeah,
you start beating enemies, you'll keep beating enemies. Like there needs to be mechanical differences, in my opinion. But I derailed. Tell me your thoughts. Sorry, instead
I
of
think the
flashing
push.
Mystery of the Emblem, let me flash Awakening. Okay, now tell me your thoughts. Okay.
I think your points are fair. From a lunatic run, yeah. Like I've tried lunatic, and it's like the early game is like awful.
Yeah.
God, the early game was awful when I tried lunatic, and I was like, I like the speedrun of this a lot, mostly because it's well, it was my first speed run really, and this was like it's I don't I think it's a more knowledge based speed run than execution. I would say
I can see that.
because like there is a defined path you use
Yeah.
for the
Okay.
speed run, but like
Sorry, I have a kind of funny comment on this because
yeah,
I'm jumping ahead. In Awakening, the way you move the cursor quickly is by holding the Y button,
yeah.
right? That matters for speedruns. In the GBA games, it's holding the B button, which, as you might know, is
Yeah,
also the button you use to cancel moving your unit.
yeah,
So you have to hold the B button before you select your unit, and then you have to move precisely. It's interesting.
yeah.
Okay.
The speed run is actually a lot of adaptation based on what the RNG gives you, so I value that. Because sometimes your Robin just have fucking shit growths and magic.
Yeah.
Or you just lose a run because you didn't crit very well. But uh,
Like, okay, let me guide the debate a bit. I
yeah,
am forming my opinion based on a particular rule set I've stipulated for myself,
yeah.
right? First of all, how would the rule set you play the game under differ from that? If you were playing on Lunatic as the baseline.
If I was playing on Lunatic, probably wouldn't go for every chest. Honestly,
Okay.
I would probably ignore most side objectives. I would try for recruits, and
Yeah, so my thought is like if you're allowing yourself to like try for recruits, go for side objectives, you're basically saying I'm content if I miss things, right?
yeah,
That's it. Like I think that would be
yeah,
a fairer difficulty to play on. Unfortunately, the issue
yeah.
here isn't difficulty, and
It's
or
yeah,
rather the difficulty is front loaded, right? Like maybe
yeah.
the big difference between that mindset and mine is that if you were to like lose a character in chapter 2, you wouldn't care.
Depends on the character, but
If you were to lose like some combination of Varian, who's kind of actually Varian's useful for chapter 5, if you were to lose like Muriel, who I think is expendable, probably Make
Muriel's
in some
expendable.
runs, Stall
Make and some
Sully,
runs.
like you wouldn't care
Yeah,
about them,
if you
right?
lose one of them,
Like
yeah,
if you have those types of squishy units, you can just put them on the front, right? Like let them die, kite the enemies away, right?
yeah.
Yeah, I see that.
I was like, if I lose Frederick in the early game, I'm resetting.
Yeah, you have to.
Yeah,
What do you think of the tier list? Should I go back
because
to it?
yeah. Um, I think flyers in this game are actually really useful.
Yes, I agree. Which is why my Robin became one, right?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah. It's just, like Female Robin is always going to be tier 1. That's tier. I would honestly probably trade more child units than what you did, but if I was going to do a run.
Like, how do you get them? Because I see a way of doing it in my run. I just didn't think it's fun, which is that like find a chapter where there's enough space that I can sit and then grind some board rank. Because unless you can get the characters to scale enough to contribute something, like I don't even know how you field them.
But it's all the females, right? Except for Flavia and
Yeah,
Anna.
yeah, that's right.
Okay, Sully and Muriel are like lost causes. Honestly, I think you can make Noe work. Depends on her speed.
Well, I think Noe just has 1/2 range, so you can make something happen.
Yeah, Noe you can make something. Oh, yeah, I forgot Sairi and Tiki. You can't use those. The RJ, I think you can definitely use late game if you
Ten's
scale.
fucked. Ten is Ten. If you're using her as a frontliner, is super bad. If you're using her as a backliner, she's fine.
I think yeah, Panda as a backliner is fine.
Darja?
I think the RJ you can make work.
I think Darja's less raw to access.
Yeah, exactly. The Flyers, they speak from this. You can just they scale.
The speed scales, but they get one shot by everything.
Yeah, but the point you scale doesn't matter, right?
Yeah, yeah. If you can scale HP and defense, you're fine.
Yeah. Who else? Lissa just becomes a heal bot and gets
So
support
like
that way.
I think Lissa is pretty easy because Lissa doesn't take away anything from the early game. By which I mean like
No.
Like, of course, she's insanely useful just because she makes your units survive. But also, when she's healing, no one else is healing, right? She's taking experience. She's not siphoning experience from other characters you need to.
Yeah. Maribel's a lost cause, I think.
I don't think so either. I think again, if you just like field her and heal, she's fine.
Yeah. She becomes a heal bot.
There's a lot of room for that in Chapter 6. You know,
Yeah.
what would really help Maribel in Chapter 6? Kanto. Why doesn't she have Kanto?
Yeah, Kanto would help a lot.
Or am I stupid? Does she have Kanto? Am I?
Don't think so.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that Kanto's not in this game.
No, Kanto's not.
Yeah.
Are there any other female characters I'm missing that has childs?
Well, they'll all be in the light blue tier or above. Does Sayri have a kid? She doesn't, right?
No, she doesn't. Sairi doesn't have a kid.
You said Darja Noe, Sully,
There's no you make work. I think.
Jerome.
I think Soul you can actually do make work. It's just it's gonna be a lot of work to make her work.
You can't. It's so catastrophically hard.
I think it requires actually a lot of work and a lot of RNG to make Sully work.
Probably. Sure, she's useful at the bat. Like you could, I completely see it working. Cordelia, same.
Yeah.
Olivia, she just dances, right? She'll just dance for your ally.
She just dances. Yeah. Yeah.
No, I see it. So okay, another question: when you revisit the game or you replay, like, how do you engage with it? What do you do?
Honestly, I try not to use female Robin.
But like we did that, right? In my opinion, that's still not sufficient.
No, not. If we're like, usually I like. If I do like replay this game, I think I'm just gonna pull up a wheel and pick like 3 characters and then use those, or try to use those as much as possible.
Yeah, I think if you watch Zoran the Fates YouTuber, he does these train everyone runs where he shows like in Conquest you can literally bring every character to like, I think it's basically cumulative level 15, so like level 10 plus promoted level 5. So every single character in the game and every child, right? Like in the court without any external grinding. So just using the paralogs, the regular chapters, that's enough. Which I think could be interesting for Awakening, because there is definitely experience to go around, right? And maps where my Robin's getting 12 kill experience, my Riverian would be getting like 60, right?
Yeah. I think there's enough experience in the game. It's just, Veteran overflates it a lot, but
yeah.
God, I hate that the caveat on Veteran is that you have to be paired up, and that's not a caveat in this game. That's not a downside.
All right. I think that's it. I'm gonna cut it off here.
I think Awakening with Fate's pair up would be interesting.
Yeah, it would be. I think particularly Fate's Defensive Pair would be interesting. I still think this chapter 2 needs to be completely overhauled for that though.
Oh
Chapter
yeah,
two, like,
no chapter 2.
Like chapter 2, if there are 9 enemies and they have offensive pair up from Fates, they're gonna kill you even faster.
Oh yeah. There's something. There definitely needs to be rebalancing if they had Fate's pair up, but
What do you think of this section?
I thought this was either gonna be this chapter, Tiki's, or Dragon's Table.
So I showed both. Or this is Dragon's Table, right? No.
No, it's not Dragon. That's Fort Plegia or some Fort Stygia, but whatever.
Which one's
The
Dragon's
second
Table?
part of Valinor.
Oh. No, that one was pissy.
Premonition.
That one was
Yeah.
I killed Valadar on turn 1 and I ended the map on turn 2. Like
Yeah. The funny thing about that one is in the speedrun, you undeploy everyone except Robin Crumb.
yeah, you just let Tiki die, right? If Tiki doesn't matter, this map is trivial.
Oh yeah. Yeah. No, not this chapter. This chapter you don't even play the speedrun. I'm talking about Dragon's Table.
Oh. Yeah, but then like every enemy runs up, right? It just still doesn't matter.
They run up after you kill Valadar.
Yeah, but you can kill Valadar on turn 1, especially with Darkfire,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And like you proc Gale Force on him, then you run down, right? Like
Yep. And then you use Bolivia Basilia to kill an enemy.
yeah. Okay.
So then you can't reach.
Okay, I'll finish this after one more point. I've actually already beat Mystery of the Emblem by the time we're talking. I started it as soon as I finished this presentation and I ended it yesterday. And I will make another one of these for Mystery of the Emblem. I've already started. Let me just say,
God, I know nothing about this game.
this game is so good.
I know.
What a great
nothing.
game. I can't believe I haven't played it before. Okay.
Is this
I'll
the
cut it
last
off.
on your fire? Is
Huh?
this the last on your Fire Emblem list?
Last? What do you mean?
Or the games you haven't played?
Games I haven't played. So played to completion stipulation,
Yeah.
right?
I guess.
Or
like done at least one run.
At least one run. Okay, what about the games with branching paths, like Three Houses and Fates? What do you count?
Well, you did Blue Lions. That should be.
Yeah.
I think that's good enough.
Okay, so that I've done Blue Lions, I've done Conquest and Birthright, but not Revelations.
Yeah, I saw that.
So what remains to be played fully is
Engage,
Radiant Dawn.
which we were
Previously New
playing
Mystery,
now.
but that's done. Surprisingly FE6, which I actually still haven't done to completion. Binding Blade,
Binding Blade, okay.
Genealogy, and all the earlier games. So if
Yeah.
before.
But you played Echoes, so you don't have to play Gaiden, right?
I still want to visit them at some point. The games are just
I guess.
enough.
And then Shadow Dragon and New Mystery Emblem are a remix of 1 and 3.
Yeah, I don't think I'll ever play 1 because 3 contains 1.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll cut it off.
And the New Mystery doesn't contain Shadow Dragon, right?
No, they're completely separate.
Yeah, New Mystery is just the original parts of 3.
FE3 Book 2, yep.
Yep, okay.
Okay, I'm cutting off the